child is to bury your head like an ostrich buries its head in the sand. That this child does not concern me. These children concern all of us.
If we do not care for the children of today, we are messing up the nation of tomorrow. We will be faced with a bigger challenge.
There is not a single child I have met anywhere who likes to be called an orphan. None. I haven't seen any.
So if these children grow up without being parented, where is the future of the nation?
The biggest orphans are created either because of unfaithfulness or because men thinking this is the only way to become men, and then he just goes with every woman around.
The community would not want to identify any child as an orphan. So the wider family network would then take them on anyway as their children, because they were their children before their biological parents died. I'm sure you know the saying that it takes an entire village to bring up a child. So the children belong to the wider community.
For me, I've been working with people who are HIV positive for many years. So I've seen them die and the children were left. And the question I had most of the time was, what about the children?
The first boy that we brought had lost a mother that he loved so much, and they had a sister. And they were on the street in Kampala. The father ran away from them. He couldn't stand being before his children when he was sick of AIDS. So he ran and he died somewhere, and we didn't know. When the news came that the father had died, the boy was still very young. We tried to commit suicide. That is when we sought for help and realized it was grief disturbing him.
Because of the large numbers of children who have lost their biological parents, the social network within the family is so extended that the safety networks, the provisions, so because of that, then you have children who really kind of are not able to be cared for within that network.
If we are to do serious repair, we have to come back to redefine manhood, to redefine fatherhood, to both the children and adults, to both men and women, to understand that to be a man is not to be this champion who goes about and say, you know, like in my culture where they say the only cock on the hill, just have as many women and as many children, that's the man.
Mama wange yafa, dada yabula, ngacha mtu. Ngani kar majanga itatu. Bino tubireke amafuta. Kaza tunagaleka, tutani go kusoma ku. Tubenga bana ifa bandi.
Ngosobora?
Nsobola. Tuko yoko kufa vera mu street. Tubona bona rechiro.
Emereno yokubya ku street etamye. Batuyisa bubi. Twaga tufunire nyumba yokwebaka. Batusomese tuve ku street imbi. sitaliko makuru.
Others, I think they're struggling because they don't have anyone can help them out. That's why you see them roaming around, using those paraffin and whatever, those illegal drugs that makes them to be retarded.
In 2003, I lost my parents. I came here in the street, so they helped me, and I went there in the project. I was in the habilitation class. They habilitated me. They told me that you go back to school. I was also encouraged with some of my fellows. Told me that let us go back to school.
We have this enforcement, police, whatever. They can just destroy everything. But I think if they get some people who are willing to devote themselves and help out, I think it can be the best key for them. I think this guy, if we would have not got, I think someone can help him out. He cannot be able to be where he is now, to go back to school. I think for him it would have been like, now life is hard. But now also he can go back to school and study.
Governments have a limit. I think, frankly, for me, it's much more civil society. It's much more churches, communities taking more care. I wouldn't be asking more for governments, because the governments should do the basic thing, providing health services, health care. Our school system is still so stretched. So I wouldn't be asking more from government. I would simply say, especially as a minister in churches, I would appeal to churches, appeal to Christians to do more, to create space for one more in their homes.
I've seen some people taking on these kids for 2 years, then they look for another family where to take them, and then after 2 years there, then they look for somebody else where, you don't treat human beings like animals, like dogs, that if it's a dog, your neighbor can take care of that dog for 1 day, and then the other one takes, that was my life, as I was growing up.
They are literal now, but they're not going to remain literal. And if you have ignored them now, you be prepared to face them later. Because if we don't care for them, if we don't show compassion and love and care and bring them into family, they are going to be cared by something else. They will survive. I hate that word. We were not meant to survive. We were meant to grow.
In Uganda here, all schools have been encouraging to display information concerning AIDS, because it is such important information that even the president himself was the first one to initiate this program, that all schools must have that program of the PSA, which is Presidential Initiative on AIDS Communication to the Youth.
So we talk to them, we sensitize them, we tell them the dangers of acquiring HIV. And for those who are already HIV positive, we also help them, we guide them, we counsel them. We tell them that living positively is not a crime. Some of them, it is not their making, they were born with HIV.
It has been effective because at first these children were withdrawn. They were feeling that they were not part of the society, but right now they can mix freely. Sometimes we talk about these issues during the assembly, and therefore they have come to realize that they are also like any other person and they can do very well. And some of them have gone beyond this place and they have graduated very well.
Yes, Mzee. When I first came to this community, people were very sick with HIV/AIDS and everybody was blaming the other. It was attributed to witchcraft. There was a lot of ignorance and life, and people were running from town. So that is where the idea came. We started fellowships at home to teach people to understand the love, care of God, and so on. Those two houses, there are two widows here that are under. They are my satellite family. Nakalema Aisha. Florence was married to Aisha's brother, but he died. And so that house where she lives here and they live with their children. She had lost most of her property, she was sick, she was having struggles. Someone was going to kill Denise and she begged for Denise's life when she was 2 weeks. Then I got here with very many other children. They are very hardworking and children were not going to school, but now they are going to school.
The biggest challenge, I don't think we have treated it with the seriousness that it deserves. We have thought that the government is giving UPE, but UPE is not the only solution. Children sent to school is not the answer. Children need people to raise them up.
Scenarios such as the children are hopeless, they are lost. I mean, I live in the city, Kampala, so we know there are very many kids, especially within the informal settlements, the slums, the poorest of the poor in the city, where you have just kids loitering. You know, they pick what they can pick, they scavenge, it's terrible.
And it is not a small matter because almost every family in Uganda has lost a relative. So the numbers are big, and that's the sad part of it.
When I was growing up, they used to call me an orphan. And that intimidated me, it stigmatized me. Every time they were calling children, I knew they were going to call the little orphan also to come in.
I want to tell you what an orphan means in practical terms. And very often an orphan is called upon to look to be a hardis boy or a hardis woman. That's what I used to do with my uncle who had herds of cattle. I was often sent from school. So it is good that we understand.
If you leave children to be criminals on the street, the crime they will make will affect your children even if you protect them with good holds. So it is not just an individual's responsibility, but it is a responsibility of the whole community that thinks right. There is no child who is wasted unless their people in that community have not paid attention to do their part.
When we got married, we were thinking about having our own children, but that time we were working in the village with the people who are HIV positive. A number of them died and they left their children. We felt like God was saying to do something, and I want to appreciate my wife because she's not like other wives, because some wives would say no. But for her, she said yes, we can do what God wants.
The fears that people have is about finances. If I bring them, I'll spend my money on them. When they get sick, I'll care for them. And now, what am I going to give them to dress, like put on? What are they going to put on? How am I going to parent them? You know, like some people fear about parenting, you know, because they think they are going to have hard work. But who's there to do that? Who was assigned to do that? No one was assigned. So you have to assign yourself to do that, you know.
I'm very happy for this family. I couldn't make it without them. I did a bachelor's in social work and social administration.
Life was not easy. I came here in 2003 when I was still a young boy.
I know you're still young, though you're big.
Yeah, I'm still young.
The school outdrop for girls in Uganda is too high. So when I go back to my village, many people ask me, how many children do you have? I was like, what? I'm still studying. I don't have any child.
People like me, I didn't even expect to make it to the university. I'm just excited.
The passion I have is the burden. Who is there for them? And who is going to help them? Who is available for them? I think available for them.
Today I'm supposed to report back to finish up my first year. I'm going back for the second semester to complete my first year. So just happy for what the Lord has done for us.
Many people are scared of stories that have gone on by people who have tried to care for orphans. They say, children are difficult, especially these orphans. To adopt them, you adopt trouble. In the real language of a child, when a child loses his parents, the child doesn't understand that the parents died. The child has an understanding that the parents abandoned him. Now I cannot be loved. Nobody will love me again. And in many cases, they want to reject you before you have tried to reject them. Many people come in to care for these children without that understanding. But consider this, the fact that every parent will tell you raising children, whether their own or any other child, is a hard job. All children are expected to contribute. The older take care of the younger as part of the contribution in the family. And that helps to increase the care within the family setup. But we try to make sure that the activities here are helping the children to remain in touch with the community lifestyle. So he can leave, go away from here, and he's able to put up a house like this. The grass is there, and he can. The things they learn can help them at least to do something like this in the community. And also continue to cultivate, to do things that they have been doing here for their own upkeep. It looks like here. It's more mountainous. Okay, we'll come back. Did you run well? If we cared enough, if we loved enough, we would invest what it takes: patience, long suffering, and continue to love these kids even when they fail. Yes, discipline them, but continue to love them without giving up.
Things are not automatic. These children came from different backgrounds. All of us, we are trying just to stand up straight. We are not perfect, unless with the children, each day they learn. As a mother, you don't keep quiet, you keep on loving, you keep on listening. When they are shedding tears, you shed with them. When they are laughing, you laugh with them. When they are making fun, you have fun with them. Cooking, doing all this, So, yeah.
Who does not want to have a place to return to? Who does not want to know that even if I mess up, there is somebody who loves me, who will receive me in the end?
We got married with the idea that we would care for children, for the needy and the poor. After realizing in the scripture that God places the lonely in families, He is the father of the fatherless and the defender of widows, that underlined that we would create family for the lonely, to create an environment that they would grow and be productive in community, but they grow in all areas of their lives.
I can say there was a seed in our hearts when we started caring for children, but as time has gone on, it is grown even deeper, and even as we learn lessons having children. Because having a bigger family, it is not, you will never have enough. So you need to think of other creative ways of raising money, not to rely on education alone, because jobs are very challenging now. So if they learn different skills, they can still be useful in the future. Even when they don't get jobs, they can be able to start up something. We can sell these necklaces to supplement on our food stuff.
Because since my childhood, I've been with a big family. So I don't think I can stay in a nuclear family where there are 4 people. That's so boring. So I just like a big family.
We eat, sleep, and that's how we don't sleep how we used to sleep in the streets.
I'm happy because that I don't know where my mom is, that I am staying here with my friends.
Some kids, when we get them, they don't even want to associate with us as parents. But as time goes on, you just find them saying mother, father. Some of them are sad to begin with, but then as they have lived with us, you find them happy, laughing.
For them to accept that they are loved, it costs something. We learned that they have to check out to prove that you really love them. The other challenges we have had with the numbers of children become very sick. Sometimes you get people who say, but these children are HIV if their parents died of AIDS. What of? It can be a temptation in you and you feel am I doing the right thing or the wrong thing? The other thing is providing for them their needs, because you can't say there is no food. If you take on a child, you are responsible to make sure you provide food, you provide clothes, you provide medical care when they are sick, and that has been one great challenge. And of course, time comes when they need to go to school. Some of the children, they are grieved because they have seen their parents die, or we have brought children who grew in very difficult circumstances. So adjusting, needing to be loved and to pay attention to them as you desire can be very difficult. We are coming from a culture where the children belonged to the community. You could encourage and support a child in your community believing that you are building your society.
The plight of children here in Uganda, many lost their parents to AIDS, and there are so many orphans within the country. God spoke to us to take care of children when we were about to get married. And so we started praying for the right people to come into our family, because besides the other ministries that we were doing, like the preaching of the word and so on, he wanted us to take care of the little ones.
We try so much not to separate the children, to say this is mine or this is the one I brought from this village. If we are buying these clothes, we buy for everybody. If it is food, we all eat the same food. They are all ours. They are sisters and brothers. And even when there is a child that is really misbehaving and you feel like, should I take this child back? But then we normally ask ourselves, if she was my very own, where would I have taken the child? So we just pray that God give us more grace. Give us more grace that we may continue. God brought them, and we are to be very faithful how we take care of them. If we don't do it well, we are accountable to God. And it has been our prayer that many people will get to love and open their houses or their homes for these children to come in. There is a difference between having a family and being in an orphanage. If these children grow up without being parented in a family, where is the future of the nation?
My parents separated when I was a small boy, about 5-6 years. I grew up really not knowing family. I think to a great extent that left in me a longing and a desire for caring. I felt very strongly that God wanted me to serve Him by serving children. Now, with my background, I was scared. Where do I begin? But yet every time I went before children, I felt so excited. I felt I connected so well. I felt the kids received me so well. I guess, I've never grown up, although I appear gray-haired. But I connect very nicely with kids, and I enjoy that.
What contribution can you do on this earth? One day when you go away, what would you leave behind us?
I don't mean to turn the gospel into a social gospel, but there's no way you can separate the two. And I'm appealing to the church that we should actually take on our responsibility of taking care of the needy.
I do not believe in orphanages, because an orphanage offers a new culture for a child. And when that child has grown and wants to go back in his community, he cannot fit there. In many of our churches, we call children, orphan children, a problem. We call widows problems. And when they say, here we have problems of widows and orphans, it's like they're calling you a problem. But children are not a problem. Children are images of God. They are our inheritance.
If you are thinking of taking in a child who is not your own biological child, and you want to bring that kid up together with your family, it must come from your heart. It shouldn't be something like, well, I saw this child and I was very sympathetic, and then I thought we should take on that one. No, what if after some 2 months, 1 year, you don't feel that, sympathy again? What are you going to do?
Children need to be loved. Children need to be listened to. And children need to be cared for. And also an environment that will enable children to love God.
Grateful people are generous people. Gratitude leads to generosity.
I grew up as an orphan. God provided a home for me. That was through Uncle Sam Kisolo. And because I was loved in that home, I was cared for, I was handled the way a human being should be handled. I felt the love to show the same thing. They are around 1.5 months old, and we shall start harvesting the eggs at 6 months. I'm also practicing agriculture on the farmland, growing food, ensuring that there is food security for the orphaned and vulnerable children. So that is where also my career comes in.
The greatest challenge that is facing our time today is to find parents for children in the community. Much as we know that there are over 2 million children who have lost their parents, we also have children who are on the street, who have come to the street because there is no parental care.
If we are caring about the future of our country, of our communities, of our nation, we would rather start investing now, or we will spend later.
The little you have, share with the poor. The little you have, share with the needy.
Caring for children now is benefiting ourselves and benefiting our own children.
Motomayele asali bankisi alongiliwate Yesu elonga. Motomayele asali fize alongisidate Yesu elonga kumamalelo. Hey Yahweh kumama. Hey Yahweh, 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 kumama. Helike abana, kumama. Kasina bisa.